So with y'all? How y'all doing? Somebody said amazing. My name is Kier Gaines. I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a content creator, I'm a social media influencer, and I am a licensed therapist. Today, oh, y'all want to clap it up for being a therapist? Thank you, brother. It's rare that I get a chance to have a conversation with another licensed therapist, and it's rare that I get to have a conversation with married people that have known each other for longer than me and my wife have even known of each other's existence. And that's Russell and Nina Westbook. Y'all give it up for that real quick. I haven't been doing anything for as long as y'all known each other. Like, there's not a single thing in my life I've been doing that long. I want to kick this off because I'm really interested in this. You all have individually, thank you, brother. Individually, you all are very accomplished people, very accomplished, but sometimes individual accomplishments don't always positively weigh in on your collective accomplishments, right? What you do as an individual don't always positively benefit your marriage. So I want to know, at this stage in your marriage, just in terms of this beautiful life that y'all have built together, what are you most proud of?
Okay, Russell's gonna have me answer everything first so he can just piggyback off of me. Just let's start there. Um,
He didn't deny it either, look.
this is how he's gotten this far in life. No, I think that obviously I think our kids, which is kind of the easy answer. I feel as though even more so than that, the way we're raising our children and the way we collaborate and we are constantly in tune with our parenting, parenthood in general. I think that it being one of the most important things outside of our marriage, child rearing kind of leads our every decision. So I think that I'm most proud of our ability to work together and let our children unify us even more so than we've ever been, rather than create or cause conflict or anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking in the back, and we kind of chuckled at this joke Nina told me, and it's like people sometimes say, oh, the greatest joy in the world is when I'm with my children, and also the greatest joy in the world is when I'm not with my children. Because parenthood is rewarding, but it's the supreme ghetto.
It is. And you know what? Everyone, for all of us and those of us who are parents, you perfectly get it, and it makes total sense, right? We can't live with them, can't live without them.
It does happen. It specifically, Russell, you being a father, fatherhood is different, and it hits men different. And I myself find me juggling parenthood and being a father to two individuals, and then I gotta be a husband, and then I gotta be something collectively to all three. Is there something in that mix that you're really proud of?
I would probably say being a father. I've been blessed and so grateful to be raised by two wonderful parents that instill so many great habits and different things in me to allow me to be able to do so many things. And with me playing basketball, me being a husband, me doing all these different things, but the one thing I enjoy most is the 6 a.m. when my kids run in and wake me up early in the morning. And that to me is what I'm most proud of, and taking them to school, picking them up, that to me keeps me whole, and it keeps me going, so.
I'm trying to be like you, because when my kids walk in at 6 a.m., I'm like, go somewhere else.
That's me.
That's Nina.
Oh, y'all are different?
Yeah, that's Nina.
My wife and I are the same way. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
She wakes up like Snow White, birds on the windowsill, and she's cooling pies and singing a tune, and I wake up like, "Arr, I hate life." You know? It's those things kind of get under my skin and not hers, which leads me to another question. It's Russell, whenever I see you and someone's interviewing you, it's people always say unbothered, right?
Yeah.
We always hear people talking about I'm unbothered. And usually the person who say they unbothered be the most bothered. You'll say you're unbothered there and then you go and cry in the car. But you legitimately look unfazed by some of the crazy things that people say to you. What actually gets under your skin?
Well, I would probably say, like you mentioned, a lot of things can get underneath my skin. But when I feel like the people closest to me, which is my family, my wife, my kids, mom, and my close group, when they start getting attacked and things starting to affect them in a way, that to me gets under my skin. That something now makes me want to react, makes me want to, you know, act like I'm not bothered, but still be very irritated on different things. So I'll probably say that's the number one thing that will probably get underneath my skin.
Yeah, I saw an interview that you did, and I think the reporter asked you that. And first off, I was watching The Pivot with Deion Sanders,
Yeah.
and he was talking about his wife and his family, and Deion said something brilliant. He said where a lot of men go wrong is you don't keep the main thing the main thing. And he was talking about supporting your wife and your family, and one of the first things out of this man's mouth was, I stand behind my wife 100%. And for a man like me, it means a lot to be able to see some of our cultural icons stand behind the women and the families that they built and that they love. So that does mean a lot. Nina, what gets under your skin?
A lot of things get under my skin. No, I would say the same thing. I'm very protective. I think I'm a very laid back, easygoing person. I typically can get along with anyone. Not too much bothers me, especially when it comes to myself. I'm most bothered by other things affecting my kids or my husband or anyone else in my family. I think that our situation is very unique, and so we are constantly having to think about certain things that so many people might not have to think about. For example, we had an incident. My son just started kindergarten, which was stressful enough, as is. Everyone made a big deal. Oh, your son's going to kindergarten. Are you prepared? I'm like, I feel like he's going to be fine. He's going to be great. That did not happen. We had an adjustment. There was a lot of transitional things that we had to work through, but he got into it he didn't get into it. One of the kids in the class said something to him that was about him. And so he came out of school that day. It was a negative thing, and that he had heard from elsewhere. And he ran up to me and was like screaming, such and such said this, that, and the other. And I was like, shh, okay, we'll talk about it when we get in the car. And I literally was so upset and wanted to obviously get into it, but I felt like having to protect my kid in a way that he saw that what was said is not going to impact or affect us in this way, and to actually go through my process as much as I could before we got in the car to explain to him what had happened in a way for him to understand and let him know that, these things aren't true. We'll talk about what is true, and that he doesn't have any reason to be, any reason to believe these things or whatever the situation, whatever the case may be. I was able to gather my thoughts before I took it to him. Those are the situations that get under my skin. When people talk about him, that gets under my skin, because I feel like Russell, his career has really opened us up to a lot of outside opinions and whatnot, and so our home and family life is just very different than what most people might see. Sorry.
I can still hear you clearly the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. I find myself because I post a lot of content about my family. And people are gonna say mean things. When people are behind a screen, they feel very safe to say things that they probably wouldn't say in your face.
Never.
So sometimes, I'll get a joke like, damn, your lips ashy. Like, wait a minute. Or someone to say something like, man, you should probably clean that up in the background. And I don't worry about that. Those are people's criticisms. That belongs to them and not me. But if you come for my wife or one of my children, I can't pretend like that's okay with me. And then you have to keep it cool because when you react to trolls, they're like piranhas when they see blood. They just start going for it to get the attention. Do you all think that you being athletes helps you with that thicker skin?
I believe so. I believe it has something to do with it. Also, for me personally, just how I was raised, where I was from. For some of you guys that don't know, I grew up in South Central LA. Yeah, there we go. So I grew up in the inner city, and that understanding, just growing up in that environment, understanding kind of what that entails, and kind of fast forward to now, it allows me to let a lot of those little small comments kind of go by, and I know doesn't mean much, but as you mentioned, the moment that you cross the line of family and the kids, and now we're having a different conversation. So definitely allowed me to have some thicker skin.
Yeah, no doubt. Crossing that line is it could definitely be a tricky thing. My wife and I, we have a YouTube podcast where we talk about love and relationships, and we're very open and we're very honest about everything. And sometimes, like even in the audience, someone will walk up and be like, hey, I listened, me and my boyfriend had a conversation, it was great. And it feels good when you have a public love to kind of get that good vibration back. But there's another side too. When you have a very public love, you get some of people's like negative comments and opinions and projections, and you talked about it a little bit more, a little bit earlier, but could you go into more of how you protect yourselves and your family from scrutiny that people may have about you?
I think we're both really good at, in the best possible way. Russell has no shortage of confidence. And so I think that, I think it's the same. We all need to have a healthy amount of confidence and self-love and self-worth and all of these things that give us that thicker skin. And we know like our worth and everything that we're here to do, it comes from God and it comes from within us. So honestly, it doesn't have as much of an impact on us in that way. I think that focusing on like our mission, our passion, our calling is what continues to fuel us and make sure that we know that we're doing the things that we need to be doing in order to protect ourselves. And that's what gives us the courage. We've never really looked for outside, what am I looking for? What is the word? Validation. So it's always been, doors continue to open for us. We continue to be able to serve in all of the ways that we want to serve. And so that's how we know that we're continuing to move in the right direction.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in grad school, one of my professors, he was talking about internal motivation, to your point. And he says, when you're internally motivated, that's like trying to lose weight for yourself because you want to get healthy. When you're externally motivated, that's like revenge body weight, which is you're going to look amazing, but you're going to gain it right back.
Come back.
Yeah, because the motivation doesn't come from you and it's not specifically about you. When there's one thing when the world is saying things and you got to handle that conflict, but within a marriage, look at her smiling. She already knows where this is going. Like, it's one thing when the world is giving you conflict, but it's another thing when you kind of have conflict within your own relationship. I want to know, when something is getting to you all, like, how do you handle it? Are you an open book? And this is an individual I might want to start with. Either one of you all can answer first, but are you an open book? Do you choose to kind of keep to yourself until you understand fully how you feel? Are you just going to rip off and maybe have to apologize a little later because you said something you didn't mean? Like, how do you all handle that just within your own relationship?
I'll start. I mean, we've been together for a very long time. So that has looked different at each stage in our lives. We started dating when we were 18.
Yeah.
So when we were 18, there was nothing that I wasn't gonna say. I grew up in a family that was very vocal. Like we had, I will call them spirited debates almost daily. Like that was a way of life. Whereas Russell comes from an extremely different background. So I was all for spirited debates. Russell was all for just a lot of nothing. Very, very early on. I think that as we've grown and matured, learned, explored, and gotten to know each other better, I think it's really good we know each other really well. But that's evolved into the current day not without trials and tribulation, but through a lot of growth, communication, and just effort and work to a more balanced give and take between when is it a good time to talk about these important topics or different things that are coming up. That we rarely get to discuss something in a moment anyways. Our life is very chaotic. There's always so much going on, which also gives us the opportunity to do a little bit of reflection, self-reflection, to see how we really feel about something. And that makes it so that we're a little less emotionally reactive. And by the time we have time to sit down and talk things through, it's a much more calm, productive conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Say what's on your mind.
No. I would agree. I agree. One thing I would add to that, because I do agree, over the course of time, there's been different times in our life. We had a conversation actually recently just about there's always something new happening in our life when we got married or when we moved, got a new house, or we had the Noah, and we had the girls, and different things, big events that happen. There's always a little bit of friction and always a little bit of something there. But what I've learned is that we've done a great job of just communicating, staying, just talking out whatever that may be. At least for me personally, learning how to just listen first and understand kind of what's happening, understanding the situation, and then kind of reacting. I can feel heat from over here.
There's no heat. I'm very
Over
proud.
here, no heat. No, but
It could be some heat.
I think over time, allowing just us communicating back and forth has been very beneficial for us, as we've gotten older and grown together. So.
Is when people talk about growth on social media, it's always like, yeah, I'm growing and it feels amazing. And I'm like, what kind of growing you doing? Because growth over here feels like my hands are attached to a car and my feet are attached to a car and they smashing the gas in two different directions. That's what it feels like to me. With you all being college sweethearts and just having, to your point, that long history with each other, can you talk a little bit about how that process has changed from then to now? Because we're talking, yeah, it's a long road, but we're talking relationship, then we're talking marriage, and we're talking about careers and kids, and y'all collected a lot of life together. Like, how has that thing changed from the beginning to the present day?
Oh, man. A lot. It changes, man, every day. Daily, honestly. Yeah, as I'm kind of just reflecting and thinking about it right now, every day is changing. So many different things happen in our lives, especially for me and obviously for Nina as well. But one thing I would say just now that I'm grateful for is Nina's sacrifice. Like, we grew up in college, but I left and went to the NBA, and she moved her whole life, put her dreams to the side, and that has been constant, her constant sacrifice, and I do think that it should be acknowledged, and you should be proud of that
My wife, she cheesing so hard right now listening to you say that.
because, just the sacrifice and through all these years of so many different changes, a lot of the changes, honestly just have been based around me and my career and what I've been doing, and she's been holding shit down, honestly, from start to finish, and now been able to see her grow into the things that she's been wanting to do, and still supported me and doing stuff with the kids and doing this and doing that. I'm just grateful to have a partner to be able to and do all that sacrifice, and now we're here, so it made the journey a lot easier, being from 18, and now today my birthday, y'all, too. I'm 34. Just got okay, cool.
It's his birthday.
Had to slide that in there.
Slide that in there. But yeah, been now 34, so just grateful for that journey. So yeah.
That's beautiful, brother. It really is. Nina?
I'm gonna piggyback off of that, and also this is Russell showing his support. He's here on his birthday, just making the dream work, because we really wanted to be here with you guys. So I would say that along those lines, it's the ability to evolve and the ability to be adaptable. Through everything, we've been it's ridiculous, all of the things that we've been through. It's kind of crazy to think about how many moves, how many kids, there's just so much that's happening constantly, and we're very different than who we were when we were 18. We were just having fun and hanging out, really. I stayed back in school. Russell went off and played, and we got together when we could, but I think that helped us to build a strong foundation of independence, and also helped me to hold on to that bit of myself in our relationship and to pursue my passions. But the key thing that has gotten us to where we are is just being open and knowing that the transitions and the changes are going to come, and regardless of what it looks like or how we get there, we know we're committed to doing the work to make it work.
Absolutely. It's whenever you see a very successful man, you can never underestimate how much sacrifice the woman that loves him has endured just so the world can have a piece of him. When I'm a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and we have this, like when I first crossed, I met this older bruh, and he was like from the 1970s, and he's like, young brother, did you know that silk is strong, just as strong as steel? And sometimes older dudes just be talking, and I'm like, oh, all right, dog, cool. But I come to find out that worm silk is actually stronger than steel. And steel strength is in its rigidity, the fact that you could put a lot of weight on it and it won't give. Silk's strength is in its flexibility, the fact that you could put weight on it and it'll give, but it'll never break. And when I think about marriage and transformations and kids and time and all this life you collect together, I always think of silk. And that kind of sounds like what y'all talking about, that flexibility right there. So that's amazing.
That was beautiful, the way, I like how you did that.
Who would have thought I'd take that dude's random drunken thought and turn it into a life lesson? But here we are. That rolls into a question I have specifically for you, Nina. You are a licensed therapist, and with that comes a lot. Because it is a job, it's a vocation like any other one, but the training and the love that we have for this thing sometimes makes it more than just a job. It can be a lifestyle or a way that you think and the way that you behave. I want you to tell me how being a licensed therapist has benefited your relationship and how it is probably Hey,
Russell knows
Russell, I'm a
what's coming.
therapist too, man. You gotta relax.
It's team therapist right now. Just
It's
sit back.
2-on-1. But I want to know how it's benefited your relationship and also how it may have been a barrier to some progress in the past.
Oh, that second part, I really like. I'm going to start there where it was a barrier.
Okay.
I feel like early on in our relationship, I'm typically a fixer. I've always been very solution focused, not really emotional. Like, I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I am, no, I don't know if I'm very emotional, but I I've always want to fix things. So any problem that was coming my way in our marriage, I was always wanting to fix it, whether it had anything to do with me or not. So I feel like early on I was taking on a lot of Russell stuff, too much. And so there would be times where I had to say, you know what, I can only take care of my stuff right now. I can't take care of your stuff right now. I need you to carry your own load because I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling burnt out for a little while, and let me gather myself and refill my cup. And I think early on in the relationship, I had a hard time doing that. But now today, Russell can't get me to take on any additional thing without a fight, because I'm just so much more in tune with my boundaries, my limits, what makes me go, what doesn't make me go, and I'm not afraid to say it. And we both do a really good job of helping to balance that out for us, because there's so much that's constantly happening. I'm very hands-on with my kids, very hands-on with my business, and also in my marriage. So I'm constantly being pulled in different directions. I think Russell now has a better, his emotional growth, his ability to seek outside support and help has also helped for me to be able to reserve some of that energy for me to replenish. As far as being a therapist in our relationship, Russell doesn't listen to the things that I say most of the time. When it comes to us, he takes everything. My advice is good enough for him as long as it has nothing to do with me for everything else. But in our relationship, I don't know. I mean, I think it's benefited us greatly, and it's helped a lot. But also sometimes I'm human, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not by the book, and I don't say all the perfect things or the right things all the time, and Russell knows that. But for the most part, I'm always able to pull it back around and pull it together. So it's kind of been a give and a take.
Yeah, it is kind of that yin and that yang, because I I get frustrated with myself because I'm like, I can fix everybody in his problems in about 90 days. Let me have a problem. And all of a sudden I'm emotionally illiterate and I can't tell you what's going on inside my own head. Russell, if you could speak a little bit to what it's like being married to a therapist. My wife has amazing things to say sometimes, and sometimes not so much. But what is that experience like for you? She wasn't a therapist when you met her.
No, it's honestly, and she knows this from day one. I remember when we used to actually study together to help her study and understand and go through all these flashcards.
You got the honorary degree.
Yeah. I feel like I was a part of that.
He was shooting in the gym.
Oh yeah, I was there. But actually, it has helped me tremendously be more open to therapy. Just growing up in the inner city is never something that we're offered, that's talked about. It's something that we've never done, and being able to be open and understanding the importance of it has been really beneficial for me. And like Nina mentioned, I do therapy now weekly outside, just for me personally, just being able to express and communicate on different things that I'm going through. But I never would have been open to that if it wasn't for Nina and her ability to be able to help me and talk me through so many different situations and be vulnerable in situations and talking through my feelings and emotions. Because basketball was kind of the only way I was able to kind of get all my emotions out, I can scream and run and do all this stuff. And then when I had kids, like having to change that, come home and change those emotions. Then I have my marriage and make sure I'm not bringing what I have at work back to Nina and the kids. To the kids, and being able to be married to a therapist and understanding the benefits of it has been, great for me. There have been times where Nina's right, I didn't want to hear, her therapy, but I would go and reflect and, be like, oh, well, that makes some sense. She just wouldn't know it, but I would go back
No, I do know.
and
It's
do
his
it.
process. This is his process.
But yeah, I think it's been beneficial, and I brag about it all the time when she's not around, just to other people, because to me, I've been able to talk about, even with my friends, my brothers, we have conversations that are beneficial, just being open, being able to talk, do different things that, we didn't have, years back. So I'm grateful for that.
From one black man from the projects to another black man from the projects, keep being loud about your mental health journey like that. That's very empowering to hear that. We're coming towards the end, so I want you all to tell me what self-care looks like for you. Nina, maybe I can start with you.
Self-care for me can be, like, I'm really good about asking for time or asking for help, whereas before I was not so good at asking for help. I would just get mad and kind of be a little more snappy and whatever the case may be. But asking for time for myself, I love to go away and spend time with my friends and my family. We have we're so blessed. We have a really good friend group. My best friend Kiana is here today to support. But we are so loved, and the time that we spend with our family and friends, it is truly what I look forward to replenish for the coming weeks or whatever is ahead of us. I also do therapy weekly, and I guess those two things.
Yeah, I would probably say the stuff I just mentioned is kind of what I use as self-care, being able to do therapy weekly, hang with my friends when I have an opportunity to be able to just chill, go to dinner, enjoy conversations, talk about things that we're working on or endeavors and family and friends, and being able to do that to me is considered self-care and something I, embrace.
I love that. If you all caught the panel with Maddie James earlier, she was talking about just the magic in everyday life. And one thing I noticed about what they both said regarding self-care is it's not grandiose. It's not something huge that has to be this big, ginormous effort. They're already taking things within their environment and using it to make them feel good. Friends, family, time alone. And that echoes all the sentiments that my wife and I share in terms of just keeping what's important and make sure that we're all good upstairs. There is a multitude of ways to answer this last question, but I am really curious what you all's answer is. What do you think, just in your words, makes your relationship work?
We really love each other a lot.
Yeah, that's a start. That's a start. That's a start. That has to be the start.
No,
Honestly, I this is what I think it works. I'm big into not being like super underneath my wife and super tied into every day and every time. I think it's good that like I travel for a couple of days and then, I miss her, she miss me. It makes our relationship, I feel like when we're at home for 2 or 3 weeks straight, like the summers and like just home too much, then she get on my nerves and I get on her nerves and, but I do think it works well, when I get to travel a couple of days or go away for a night or two and I get that I miss you text. I know that, it's time to, come back. I know it's working, I know it's working. Oh, what? Oh, sorry.
Now, you talk about you felt the heat earlier. I'm feeling the heat now.
Did get that? Oh, sorry, my bad. I didn't want to tell everybody.
You
Yet.
send the
Oh,
I
my
miss
bad. I didn't know you were going
text.
to tell it.
Can
You know?
I elaborate? Since
My-
we're
my-
killing time, I will elaborate on what Russell's saying. First of all, it is
Wasn't
nice
finished.
when you spend some time apart, you're constantly getting back together. So what he's referring to is in the off season. The off season, we go through a transition every single year. Russell's going from being gone half the time to now he's having to reacclimate into our system. Russell wants to come in and blow up the system. I'm like, no.
Y'all get the keyword "our system." That means I'm not a part of that system.
When you're not home, you're not in the system. I'm sorry. So that's where we are trying to readjust and acclimate to each other being home, incorporating Russell into our program. Well, this is the thing. We all incorporated ourselves into Russell's program for so many years. He is now on the other side. We're now on the other side of that where, unfortunately, to uproot 4 people and 3 little people in their system is not, as you know, is not a good idea. So Russell reacclimates, and there's always a transition. There's always going to be hiccups. And then we get into a groove, and then the season starts back up again. And then we get back, we have to reacclimate again. It's a constant, everyday transition and change that we're adapting to. And so the thing is the adaptability.
No.
The silk.
The silk. It's so important because your marriage isn't just one thing. But then when you bring in the concept of time, your marriage isn't going to be the same thing from year to year, not even to mention from month to month. So it's important that you recognize those things and give space for them in your relationship. Cody, is it time for the thing?
If the microphone works, then it's time. Because when I take you guys out of here, it's Russell's birthday.
It is Russell's birthday.
So it's a very
you.
special day in the Black Love family. Because I'm so grateful for you two being here, especially on Russell's birthday. And because it is also the birthday of 2 4-year-olds.
Oh my
And
goodness!
so we're gonna sing a little happy birthday, but we're gonna let somebody kick off the happy birthday in honor of our
Look at that.
special men.
What's up? What's up?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Russell, Langston, and Aristotle.